The following program is a production of Pioneer Public Television. This program on Pioneer Public Television is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4, 2008. Additional support provided by Mark and Margaret Yekel Julien in honor of Shalom Hill Farm, a nonprofit rural education retreat center in a beautiful prairie setting near Windham in southwestern Minnesota. ShalomHillFarm.org. The Arrowwood Resort and Conference Center, your ideal choice for Minnesota resorts offering luxury townhomes, 18 holes of golf, Darling Reflection Spa, Big Splash Water Park, and much more. Alexandria, Minnesota, a relaxing vacation or great location for an event. Explore alex.com. Easy to get to, hard to leave.
This is the way it was. No reserved seats, no seats at all. You brought your own, and you raced to find the best spot. And smart WeFesters made sure they took care of the important things before they came. You see, if one vacated a spot to answer the call, well, Bob Spillman remembers.
That first year they didn't have reserved seats, so if you got up and left, to go to the bathroom or get a beer or whatever, you generally lost your seat when you came back because Alabama was so big. I mean, that was such an enthusiastic crowd that night.
The band Alabama was the big draw at the first WeFest, and Alabama was big. So big that many folks expected they wouldn't show up for a brand new show in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. Jeffrey Krieger, originator, creator, spark plug, founder of WeFest, still remembers booking Alabama as almost a miracle.
And Alabama was just in their stride then. And I called Alabama up and said, hey, you guys want to play the fest? And they said, sure. And it was an incredible thing because I got them in the 11th hour at the end of July. They confirmed.
Alabama confirmed, and they played and got paid in cash. WeFest was too new, too unproven to get a checking account. Office manager Bev Olander remembers counting out the money.
And we counted out money and went back into the Alabama bus, and I paid them cash, and they counted it all up. And there was a gentleman that worked for us in production, and he was there and oversaw things from our side, and he had another gentleman there as he counted it out. So we did the first payroll in the Alabama bus.
Alabama played 2 more WeFests and is coming out of retirement to play the 2012 festival. That doesn't surprise the folks who built WeFest. They say artists like performing here because the audience is so appreciative and shows it.
One thing that the artists have always said is there's this energy.
The energy here is incredible. When you get on that stage when the show's going, it's an incredible energy. It's a real build. They, watching the artists before they're going out, and they see it, they're, all right, this is the,
Detroit Lake Show having a good time, yeah?
Guys like Don Williams were on the stage, and he would get a standing ovation after every song he sang, all those classics. And he kept looking around at his band like, what planet are we on? Finally, in that deep voice of his, he says, where in the hell did you people come from? and I would hear that from a lot of entertainers, is these people are so enthusiastic.
How about another big hand for Don Williams? Let him hear you all the way backstage. Go ahead.
The WeFest folks figure some of that enthusiasm is generated by the fact that as many as 38,000 of them stay overnight, camping in campgrounds for the whole 3-day festival.
You know, Minnesota camping, people coming together and camping, and the kind of tailgate thing, but for 3 days. And I just think they have a blast.
One of the things I like to see is a lot of people that come camping is they turn into their own little town, their own little families, and they come back every year. And at one point there was a group from Canada that came, and they'd bring their whole town. They'd set up these buildings that said saloon on the front of it and grocery store, and that was fun to see.
Somebody run a Glendale train, swearing I ain't lying. They've been clean on the 16.
There are people that are set up with all kinds of very elaborate campsites that are having a lot of fun, and they've got their games set up, whether they're playing baseball or catch a frisbee or that little golf ball ring toss thing. You know, they're really having fun in the campgrounds.
Sue Hipsch manages meal making for folks who buy the expensive tickets. She says the weather has been remarkably good all the years she's worked WeFest.
But I'm amazed how many times, at least a dozen or more, what was looking like a frightening storm, just as it approaches the grounds, kind of dissipates or fades away and turns into sunny blue skies. So the science people in our group swear that it's the continental divide or something like that, but I really think Mother Nature just likes country music.
And the few times it has rained, folks use the opportunity to maybe act a little like kids again, riding down hilly makeshift slides, wrestling in the mud. Of course, one reason for the generally good weather is they picked a good weekend.
When we started the WeFest, was trying to pick a weekend, and he called the National Weather Service and he said, this is Detroit Lakes, Minnesota. Can you pull up on your computers what is the driest, typically the driest week or the driest weekend in Minnesota in that area? And they told us the beginning of August is typically. So that's why we picked it. And it turned out to be a great weekend. You know, just kind of.
Tom Cat says he can recall only 3 artists who've had their performances interrupted by weather. And he ought to know. In 1983, first year for WeFest, Tom Cat was a country music DJ in Minneapolis. He has emceed every WeFest since the start. He loves it.
The Sioux Pass Ranch House, and it's going to go around our big dance floor out there, and you're going to join many, many, many famous stars that have already done this. So are you ready to get your hands dirty?
Oh, by all means, it'll be a pleasure, and again, it's always a pleasure to be here in Minnesota at the WeFest. God bless all of you.
All right, John, go ahead and jump in there.
And boy, you know, the opportunity to go up there and MC an event like that with Alabama, and just who wouldn't want to be involved with that? You know, it was just something real fun. And that's what it was for me. It was just a real fun deal, and it still is.
You know what? Where in the world would you rather be than right here in Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, on a beautiful, beautiful Minnesota night, listening to great
That's
music,
pretty much how most folks associated with WeFest feel. After 30 years, it's still a real fun deal. The name WeFest? Well, there's still a lot of conjecture about that, even among the WeFest veterans.
In my mind, someday I wanted to put on a festival, and I was watching the US Festival in California, and I said, you know what? I want to be the WeFest. I want to put on the WeFest. We all together as one. People think it's Western entertainment or weirdo this, but really it's weirdo egg, but really it's we all together, people joining together and having this incredible experience. And
But we is actually a spin-off of the US Festival that started, I believe, in '82, and we started in '83. There was the US Festival. It was a worldwide rock and roll festival. So we did the We Festival, and the WE stood for Worldwide Entertainment, and that was what we were incorporated as, Worldwide Entertainment, and hence the We Fest, because of the US Fest. So they were rock and roll, we were country. They were us, we were we.
Oh, it wasn't always a bowl of laughs, sometimes not even a chuckle. Repeatedly, there were money problems and more. The first year, 1983, was great. 1984 was something else.
I lost about $1 million, and the owner here of the site, Kurt Hayde, wanted to do his own festival with a friend of mine who had worked for me, and they tried to enjoin me from the land, and the court said no, they couldn't do that.
Jeffrey Krieger was surprisingly forthcoming about money challenges in 1984 and again in 2003.
In 2003, we had lost $1.7 million, and we were pretty down on our luck. And we had some problems with the agencies, and they weren't sure we were going to survive. They thought we were going to die in 2003, that we were over with. And I said, you know what? I'm going to put all in. I'm going to put it all in. So in 2003, I offered Tim McGraw a big check to play here, a huge fee. And they kind of in Nashville, kind of laughed, didn't think it was all going to come together because they knew we were having financial problems. But Tim McGraw said, okay. So then I called George Strait and said, hey, I got Tim McGraw on board. Would you like to be part of this deal? And he said, well, if Tim McGraw's and I'm in. And so we offered him a big check, big fee. And then I called Kenny Chesney, and Kenny Chesney said, well, if those two guys are in, we're in. But we want our payment. We all want to get paid. Each one of the agencies want to get paid on December 15th. Now, remind you, we had no money. We were totally broke, not a dime. And I took the sponsorship dollars that we had in contracts and went to the bank. And on the 11th hour of the 11th day of when the checks had to be, the bank said, we'll finance you on this deal.
Jeffrey Krieger is pretty proud of that deal. He says he paid off that loan in 5 years, and he's proud of that, too. And he's proud of the fact that WeFest has grown every year since, which everybody involved figures isn't bad for a festival that started out on land that had been the Sioux Pass Dude Ranch.
And this was a dude ranch, and we had a lot of horseback riding here. They had sled rides, they had all kinds of things here in the summertime and in the wintertime. And there was a big bar and restaurant up there, and there's cabins behind it, if you look, that they used to rent out. And people used to come here as a dude ranch. They'd go horseback riding, they'd take them out on the lake, and there used to be trails all over in here, that go back into Lake Sally and across, and that's where it all started. And he used to do rodeos here. And he did a couple of small little bands here one summer, and that's how when we approached him, that's where the idea came from. He said, yeah, that's, I think that's something like that'll work.
A couple of little bands. That was before WeFest. Now, a bunch of nationally popular artists in an amphitheater for 50,000 people.
Great to be in Minnesota tonight. Nice to see all of you fine folks. Of course, we're not far from North Dakota either, are we? I don't care where we are. I saw a bunch of lakes on the way in here. I figure you all know how to fish up here, don't you? Well, there's no place I'd rather be tonight than right here in Detroit Lakes. We're going to stay as late as you will.
They call it the Bowl. The name has to do with the shape. Early in WeFest history, the Bowl served as a tempting target for something other than country music. Yup, folks parachuted into the Bowl. And on the grounds, there was bungee jumping and helicopter rides. Down toward the front of the bowl, in what WeFest calls the VIP section, the ticket price includes reserved seats for 15 concerts and 2 meals a day. Sue Hipsch is responsible for those meals, 5,000 of them twice a day. She has lots of stories.
One of our favorite things that we love happening is when security guard will say, okay, we're bringing you some special guests for dinner. And so if you're at WeFest, you really need to keep your wits about you if you're sitting in VIP. Because all of a sudden you might notice that it's Nitty Gritty Dirt Band or Sawyer Brown sitting next to you. But those fellows love to just come be ordinary folks. So they'll come in their shorts and t-shirt, baseball cap and sunglasses, but they'll wait in line and eat our food just like everybody else and sit down under the big top and have dinner. So if you're in VIP,
as might be expected, the folks who organize and run WeFest think it's the biggest, best country music festival in the whole country. They know they have one of the biggest stages.
Better and better, and to the stage we have now is one of the biggest. It's 142 feet across, 75 feet tall and 70 feet deep. So it is a very big stage.
It seems like we're working on a football field up there, at least a half a football field. It's just huge. It was the biggest touring stage in the world when Randy bought it.
Time was, the stage looked kind of like one of those pole barn things that farmers use for machine shops.
Well, originally we had it looked like a barn or a hay shed. There was a back walls, but not completely. The front was wide open, the sides were partly open, but it was a wooden stage. It was very small, and that's where originally we did all our acts out of.
That stage lasted 10 years or so before they built number 2, an aluminum stage twice as big. They could set up 2 bands at once on that, shortened the changeovers between bands so the audience didn't have to wait so long for a second show to start. Then 3 years ago, they built their Pride and Joy. It is one of the biggest stages in the country, and this year they're reinforcing it with guy wires and angle irons so they can hang more lights, speakers, and video walls. They can set up 3 shows before they open the bowl in the morning, and they can change shows in 20 minutes. You don't want to keep 50,000 country music fans waiting too long. They're ready to build memories.
God bless you, Minnesota! God bless our military! God bless our military's families! Y'all keep...
Charlie Lindbergh on the left there, no relation, and his dad Charles and brother Chris Lindbergh on the right have enjoyed every single one of the WeFests. Oh, there was that one year Charlie almost missed.
A guy I went to college with, and he had me in his wedding, and he had it the first weekend in August. I told him that's the time I can't be there. I was nice to him. I went to his wedding, was in his wedding, drove back from Linton, North Dakota in record time to make sure that I was here for Sunday's WeFest performance. So I didn't miss all of WeFest. I just missed a couple days and still got to see Sunday. So that's how much it means to me.
Charlie has kept the tickets to all 29 years.
I don't know if they're worth any money, but they're worth a lot in memories. I know that. I was looking through them, and even though I was young when I started coming, looking at this, Tom T. Hall, how many times did people see him in concert? And you know, it's just
That question is one that's occurred to thousands of WeFest country music fans. Without WeFest, how many times could they have seen their favorite artists? The answer in most cases is none, 0.
Roger Miller came out, no band, sat on a stool, 40,000 people, and blew everybody away.
Roger Miller played WeFest just once before he died. But because of WeFest, thousands of people got to see him and listen to him and remember him, and astounding artists like Freddie Fender, Tabby Wynette, Johnny Cash, Doc Watson, Conway Twitty, Carl Perkins, all who are gone now. It's fun to hear about people's WeFest memories, and few are more passionate about their memories than is Jeffrey Krieger.
Willie Nelson, his second time here, played for 4 hours. I left, took my wife home, crossed the lake, came back, he was still playing. And he didn't miss a beat. It was so crafted. That set was so over the top. It was unbelievable. And those kind of show after show after show of incredible performances by people. Really, stuff that blow your mind.
Krieger's passion is likely the most important of his characteristics that helped make WeFest successful. Krieger retired 2 years ago. The new chief operating officer is Bob Bliss, an ordained minister who started the WeFest chaplain program in 1995, who grew into the company, becoming media buyer and event operations manager. Bob Bliss may sound less charismatic than Jeffrey Krieger, but he's every bit the businessman, and he is working his tail off.
I had to basically go through every deal that turns this piece of real estate from a prairie into 50,000 people and back to a prairie in a week. I think we hired a seasonal staff of maybe like 1,400 people. Obviously, we have a dozen full-time employees. So there's a lot of things in labor that we provide back into the community.
Bob Bliss, too, is proud of being part of the WeFest success, and he talks of little successes that mean a lot.
This might not sound like a big deal, but running water bathrooms. There's this year we're looking to finish a big bathroom up on the patio up by the ranch house. With that being accomplished, our entire concert bowl grounds will not have a porta potty on it, which I don't know if there's many venues this size that can make that kind of a claim. And it might not sound like that much, and probably to most men it might sound even less, but I'll tell you, the ladies love it. It's something that is very appreciative.
The folks who run WeFest are pleased with their success. They are gratified that so many people continue to see so many country artists at what they consider the biggest, best country music festival in the whole USA. Of course, they like the idea the company is making money. And all of them are convinced they're not the only ones profiting.
You can't find a hotel around here for 50 miles. You can't find a campsite off this area. The cabins are full. The people, they book a year in advance. People go into town and buy a lot, so it's really greatly contributes to this community a lot.
I think it does nothing but good for Detroit Lakes area. We bring in, it brings in, I don't know how many dollars it brings in, but the impact is quite large. You go to the grocery stores, you go to Kmart's or the Walmart's or whatever, and the places are just packed. and you go to the other stores uptown, and the people are buying this and that, and it helps the economy.
We did do an economic impact statement through the University of Minnesota here a few years back, and it brings several millions of dollars into this community.
And when you introduce yourself today and say, I'm from Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, all the time they say, that's where they have that Country Music Fest, isn't it? You know, that's the notoriety that, that we've got today.
Time was, the folks of the Detroit Lakes area were skeptical about a country music festival. Lots thought it'd never happen. Then when it did happen, lots thought it'd be just a gigantic kegger, a drinking festival. Over 30 years, WeFest has proven itself to the community. And WeFest and Detroit Lakes, well, the guys of Alabama may not have been thinking about a small city and a big festival when they sang it, but somehow the lyric still works. Somehow it feels so right.
This program on Pioneer Public Television is funded by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund, with money from the vote of the people of Minnesota on November 4, 2008. Additional support provided by Mark and Margaret Yekel Julien in honor of Shalom Hill Farm, a nonprofit rural education retreat center in a beautiful prairie setting near Windham in southwestern Minnesota. ShalomHillFarm.org. The Arrowwood Resort and Conference Center, your ideal choice for Minnesota resorts offering luxury townhomes, 18 holes of golf, Darling Reflection Spa, Big Splash Water Park, and much more. Alexandria, Minnesota, a relaxing vacation or great location for an event. Explore alex.com. Easy to get to, hard to leave.